Morning. My name is Naveen Gabrani. The session is on getting started with the new Apex Metadata API. I am the CEO at SGIT Services. We are a Salesforce partner based in India. We are a certified ISV, OEM, and a certified product development organization. So we start with the metadata API vision that Salesforce has. The standard Salesforce architecture and configuration is built for Salesforce apps, so Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, etc. If a partner or an organization needs to build their own functionality, Salesforce is providing a new way of doing things by providing a platform on which the apps can be built. This is a combination of using custom metadata types and custom metadata type API. So let's say you are building a recruitment app. You will build a custom metadata type related to recruitment. Let's say your candidate, jobs, etc. And all your configuration information you can put in such custom metadata types. On top of that, using the new metadata API, native Apex Metadata API, you can build screens which will store the data in these configuration objects. So all the metadata configuration needs to be kind of standardized across all the functionality that you build, and this can be achieved by using a combination of metadata type and metadata API. So before we dig deep into metadata API, let me give a quick introduction about custom metadata types. They've been around for a couple of years. This is like a replacement of custom settings. Most of us are familiar with custom settings. So all the metadata information should Salesforce recommend should now be stored in custom metadata types. They work similar to your custom objects. You can have fields there. You can create metadata types, custom metadata types based on your business needs. One difference is that the API name is __MDT and not __C for metadata types. Also, the big differentiator, the big feature that custom metadata types support is that when you can package the data and deploy that as part of your deployment from sandbox to production. So you know that when you do custom objects or standard objects, you can never deploy the data. Only the code or the functionality of configuration get deployed. Because the custom metadata type main goal is to support configuration, to support metadata, it allows you that your records will also can be migrated, can be deployed from one Salesforce instance to another Salesforce instance. That is the big differentiator that the custom metadata type provides. So again, the Salesforce guideline is for all your configuration information that let's say admin may need to edit. You want to put that information going forward in custom metadata types. So examples of things, any kind of business rules like your warranty percentage, your tax rates, commission percentage, any kind of things that change over time for defining business rules, you want to put that in the custom metadata types. Okay, so this is a comparison between custom settings, custom objects, and custom metadata types. We are going to focus on the last column because that is what is the session on today. So the first, when it says packaging support, this is what I said, that when you can do deployment of data from one Salesforce instance to another Salesforce instance. That is supported in custom metadata type because their configuration data is part of your business, is part of your app. That also needs to be deployed. It supports record visibility, which means that you can set up certain fields or certain records as protected. So confidential information will not be available for the organization where the app is installed. When you make a query to custom metadata types, the results are cached. So next time the query will be faster. There is a feature to support relationship between one custom metadata type to another custom metadata type. You can, like you have lookups, the same thing can be set up in custom metadata type also. Different types are there. You can have fields of type pick list, formula, long text area, and validation formulas, validation rules, etc. The last three have been added new in the winter release in 2017. The last item, insert update natively in Apex. This is which is referred as custom metadata API. So now you can natively update your metadata using Apex without making any web service callouts. So that's a quick background on custom metadata type. Now let's move over to metadata API. The basic purpose of custom metadata API is that the app provider can build a simple user interface, which can be then used by admins to set up and store their metadata, custom metadata information. So let's say a recruitment app, let's say you want to use, there'll be some configuration screens where you can set up your business of the organization. You can define the business needs, and then using the metadata API, the information gets stored in custom metadata types, which the rest of the functionality can read and behave accordingly. So the main idea of metadata API is there are tools to edit, update, create, query the information related to metadata. That's the vision. In the initial release, not everything is supported, but over the next few releases, more metadata support will be added. We'll go into more details of that in a minute. The three key use cases are there for defining, for using custom metadata API. These are more for the app providers, but some of this is applicable for general business organizations also. The standard setup is for Salesforce native functionality like Sales Cloud and all. So app providers can build a complex set of wizards through which their configuration information can be stored using the new metadata API. Also, when you're doing upgrades, the app provider can update the existing custom metadata types or update other metadata information so that the upgrades become easier to set up. The third is self-configuring apps. What this means is that you can look at, an app can potentially look at the existing Salesforce, how the Salesforce is set up, and then behave accordingly. So for example, you can say, is the app using person accounts or not? Is the app using the standard order object or not? And then behave accordingly. So that is what is self-configuring apps, which can be potentially be done using the custom metadata APIs. So just some more history on this. This was launched in summer of 2017 release. The only two metadata that are supported right now are custom metadata types and page layouts. There is plan to support additional metadata in the spring 2018 release. There is nothing planned for in winter of 2017. Excuse me. There is no feature planned in winter 2017 for metadata API. So the custom metadata API support, what basically is that you can query the custom metadata types, you can update it, you can insert it. Whereas the page layout support means that you can add, let's say, a field to a page layout programmatically, which was never possible. Let's say you want to add your own custom fields to a page layout that was not possible programmatically. You had to request, let's say, the admin to do such changes. Now, an app provider can set up fields and add them to the page layout. So the read operation, when you're doing a query of metadata, that is done synchronously. When you're trying to insert or update, then that is done asynchronously, which means that there could be a few seconds delay. You have to set up a callback method that gets called when the deploy is completed. At present, Salesforce is not planning to expose delete of metadata. That is not in the current roadmap. Also, just to manage security, Salesforce is saying that there is no plan to support anything that generates custom code. There will not be APIs that will allow you to generate, let's say, Apex classes or Lightning components, because then it's too difficult to manage security. The big advantage earlier also there were metadata API and tooling API, etc. Because this is the new metadata API is native to Apex, there is no need to set up remote site settings. Remote site settings are error prone. Sometimes our users forget to set it up, and then the whole functionality breaks. But in this case, because it is all native, it's easier to go past security review, and it just creates less issues. So we discussed that we use callback concept. So when an insert update is completed, a callback method is called, and then we can perform the next steps. The access that the API scripts have are same as an admin. So any code that you run, whoever is executing, it will have the same access rights. The couple of differences are that in audit trail, let's say you have an app exchange package that is being run in a client's org, then in the audit trail, it will show the name of the package, that this particular metadata type was created by this particular package provider. It will not show the admin name. Second difference is that if you have protected metadata types, then those can be modified by the code. Let's say, again, going back to the recruitment app. So if my app has a custom metadata type that has some fields private, those can be updated by the code. And the end user cannot see that. Earlier, there was no way you can define a protected metadata type, but you cannot show it to the user, so you cannot insert, update information on that. But now with this API, your own protected fields you can update. There is a Trailblazer community group called Apex Metadata API group. You can become a member of that, and if you want some features, you can request that in that particular group, and Salesforce will consider to add those features in the future releases. So we are just getting started. There is just custom metadata type and page layouts. There are so many different metadata available, workflows, formulas, fields, everything that will get added in the coming releases. So supported editions, we have enterprise. As usual, this is Apex code, so you can create it using enterprise developer, etc. If it is a managed, if it is a certified managed, which means if it has gone through security review, then you can run it on professional and group edition. There is a settings deploy metadata from non-certified package version via Apex. If this checkbox is true, then you can install unmanaged packages also in the code. You can in your org. So you can run metadata API if this setting is true. So I'll just quickly go through the summary. So in the current release, we support 2 metadata types: read synchronously, update asynchronously. You can track audit history. This feature is available for apps that have gone through security review. And in the future, you will be able to check the status of your deployment, whether it is complete or not. And also, new metadata types are in the roadmap. Delete is not currently in the roadmap. I'll hand it over to Joseph to give a quick demo.
All right. So I'm going to do a demonstration of what we can do with the metadata types as well as the metadata API. Let me try to maximize this here for you. So we're in Lightning, and basically, like Naveen shared, a lot of times there are apps that have data on the back end that interacts with the data for the customer. And for example, this org right here, as you can see, has a neighborhood object, which has some definition about a neighborhood. It has summary about some lots within that neighborhood, and over here, you would have a related list of all the lots within the neighborhood. Now, this is a little bit sometimes hard to work with, and so a lot of apps, what you're going to be probably seeing starting next year is that apps allow you to configure an interface, and that's what this is intended for, to configure an interface on top of the platform. So I'm going to show you real quick how that's done. Let me go. Something happened here. seem to have lost connectivity. Oh, there it came back. I don't know what happened. All right. I'll try to do it without moving. Okay, so I'm going to go to a configuration page. And what we have here is, it's blank right now. Now, behind the scenes, we've got custom metadata types that are sitting here. So what this page is going to let me do is configure and change this app. Got 4 minutes, so I'll stick through it real quick. So I'm going to choose that neighborhood object I was showing you. And then I'm going to say the child object is the lot. And then it's asking me one more question, which is, tell me a field that I can use as a status field for those lots. So now custom metadata types are storing these 3 values that I just selected. And in addition, the app just put up the value, it read the values of that field that I chose, and now it's offering them to me on the screen, and it lets me do things like choose a color. So if there's a lot that's not available, I'll make it gray. And if it's available, it'll be green. And I'll just randomly choose other colors. It's probably not right, but I'm in a hurry. And finally, other lots will have a black. So now I've assigned colors to each of these statuses. And now it asks me, and forgive the layout, but it asks me, which of these 2 layouts for the neighborhood do you want to make changes to? So I'll choose both of them. And now I'll press the Create button. Now behind the scenes, it's interacting, it's storing data, and it's actually also updating the page layout that we were looking at a minute ago to add something to that page layout so that we can interact. So I'm going to go back to the neighborhoods now. And I'll click on this one right here. And if I scroll down, you can see that there is now a component that did not used to be here in the neighborhood. It allows me to choose an attachment as the neighborhood map. And now it's showing me a map inside of here. I'm going to go to the other one, which is actually a little more interesting, the Jamestown Square. I'll go down again. All of this is just an example, but you can imagine that apps are going to be doing this type of thing, where allowing you to build an interface, which is what this is really intended for, I think, in the long game. So right now I have an app, and I can make it bigger, as you can see here. And now I have an image. And underneath that image, I have a list of lots. It's not very helpful because the lots only have the lot number, and there's not much on the image here. But let me show you what I can do. I can click Map a Lot, choose a lot, and now do things like drag it over here, and I'm mapping this lot to say, this is lot number 1. And now, lot number 1 is green, as you can see, because that's available. If I choose a different color, let's choose number 7. Never works quite as good when you're nervous. And now this one is red because it's not available. So as you can see, I'm just starting to map lots on top of this image, and then I'm able to, if I click on here, I'm able to interact. Like I'm able to go to the record. If I click here, switch over to that lot record. But I could also do things like edit the mapping, etc. Let's go back, and I'll show you the power that we're dealing with here in my next 25 seconds. So I'll go over to the configuration. Down here, this is mapped. That's the neighborhood. As you can see, there are things like I could go in here and change the colors that I had done before. All of this is stored in the background. The customer doesn't see this. I can do things like add fields, for example, to the lot. I can say, I want to see if it's active. I want to see, what else would be good to see? The status. And for time's sake, I'm just going to stop there. So now I just added those two fields. I could also do things like add menu items in here, which I don't have time to show you, that would then allow you to interact more with the underlying application. So I'll go back to my neighborhood, click on Jamestown Square, pop out the app again, and, well, of course it didn't work. I don't know if I didn't save or what happened, but it's supposed to work. So the bottom line is you can add this stuff into your, did I not save? Let's see. Oh, I guess I didn't save it. Here, I want to show it to you so you can see that it's actually working. Oh, I hit close instead of save. That's what it was. See, in addition to this, then there's going to be a UI class over somewhere else that I'm going to attend. All right, so I'll pop this out, and now I have different columns. So nobody has to know how to get into a Visualforce page and add columns or do things like that. You give them a configuration page. You store on the background, in the background with the metadata types, all the information that you want to display on the page. And then you can read that information inside of Visualforce or inside of Lightning components and display a really nice UI for the user. Sorry, I've gone a little bit long. That's it.
Thank you.